Okay, friends, we have lots to talk about. Good stuff. And with 77 or so of us here, we have a quorum. And I call our annual meeting to order. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, send the Spirit of your Son to remain with us during our annual meeting. Let him guide us and inspire us to think and speak according to the mind of Jesus. Fill us with your joy and love and help us to put our plans into practice. Amen. So thank you for being part of the annual meeting today. I'd like to appoint Ruth Fowler to be the clerk for the 2024 annual meeting. The minutes of last year's meeting are in the annual report. Because of the bigness of the good news that we just heard, and for which will inform much of what we're about to talk about, our agenda is rather slim, whereas I am not. But that doesn't have to go in the minutes. I'm just stating a fact. So I'm going to have a few thoughts and comments to add to what I spoke about in the sermon, and of course, in light of the news about the mortgage and just the amazing generosity that it represents. And after I've had a chance to share a few words, I'm going to invite Larry Banks to come up to explore with us accomplishments and hopeful signs as we have as a community. Following that, I'll ask Andrea Cavanis, our treasurer, to come and present the 2023 financial report and the 2024 spending plan, which we already know requires some tweaking. Significant tweaking in a good way. After this body has received that report, we will enter vestry elections and then we will adjourn. I know the game is at 1 p.m. So speak faster or less. I know. I would know, I could be here forever talking about rugby. Pre-game. Okay, so what about that big news? Huh? For those of us who were able to learn about the news prior, I think I can say with confidence that we are still processing its significance, and we are still striving to find the exact words in which to use to describe both how we feel about it, but also about its significance for our congregation, both now and going forward. It's remarkable. As I said to Kelsey when we first learned of this amazing set of gifts, the first thing that really came to mind was this is that once in a generation kind of gift, which has the power to transform a community, the power to be that game changer that I know we often pray for and hope for and work towards. And when it happens, if it happens, it just changes so many things at so many levels. It's remarkable both in terms of its size and impact and what it's going to allow, what it's going to unleash in terms of the congregation's potential in light of both short and long-term financial health and well-being. Being freed from debt will open up new energy, new possibilities to discover just how deep and how broad the love of God is, and how deep and how broad our response to that love will take us. And take us, that love will, in perhaps ways we cannot today fully fathom. And for some here, I know that the end of the mortgage marks an important moment in a difficult story that stems back to when this congregation split. And a tiny remnant was left holding an enormous weight in debt. The forgiveness of the mortgage and going forward does not change, perhaps, the experience of what that time must have been like. But my hope is that for those for whom the weight of the mortgage has truly been an emotional and spiritual weight for all these years, my hope is that we can now live with the past differently. Not live with it by ignoring it, but live with it differently, with a different spirit. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the first things that popped into mind after that comment about this being a generational gift was the question, what now? What do we do? What do we do with it? What is it going to mean? What is all the implications? What and how long will it take? What's the process? Well, I'm here to invite you to join with the vestry in taking some time to allow not only the news itself, but the actual processes and what it means for our budget to be absorbed and processed, and of course, celebrated, right? As a friend of mine used to say, there will be cake. But we need some time to allow this just to settle from our heads into our hearts, down into our gut, where we really experience things, to let it really take up residence as the good news that it is. And allow the processes too that must be followed and completed, and paperwork and signatures to also be done, and for the budgetary impacts to also be considered. So I ask your patience as we allow this amazing gift to make its way, as it were, into the very souls of ourselves and into this church. And there will be cake. So it's very hard not to say anything about this in any public or even private conversation. It was hard not to allow it to slip out, even kind of sideways, in a sermon comment or even at the announcements. But it's been knocking around inside of me since we learned of it. And of course, it has informed much of what I've been sharing with you in my sermons, at least the last 2 weeks. And I asked in my sermon today a question that I hope we will be exploring together as a community in various ways. The question is this: what do we want to create together as a people and a place defined by the mission of Jesus, to be a site, a location where healing and unity building is happening because God is happening? What do we want to create together? And what do we want to create together now that we have been released from such a heavy debt? With the news about the mortgage in mind, this is, I believe, a question ultimately about possibility. It's about potential, a potential to be more intentionally a connected community, a community that is becoming more of who we already are, taking the legacies and the practices and the attitudes and the spirit that is already here among us and with us, and to turn it up a notch, turn it up to 11. That's a Spinal Tap reference for those who know. We're going to turn the volume up to 11 and see where and what God does with us and among us. So what do we want to create together? Where and with whom is God inviting us to respond to what we know of as the disunity and disconnection in the communities in which we live and work and worship? What do we want to create together? These are big questions. And to get started in addressing them, there's been a small team who have, for the last little while, been meeting to discuss how we might begin to engage these questions. So Larry Bangs and Bridget Engel have been meeting in a small group with discussions about how we do and start this work. And so I'm here to say that there will be a conversation after church in 2 weeks on February 11th in McGlarus, a first step towards asking the question, not only what is happening, but what do we want to do together, create together. And the goal of these conversations is first to listen to one another, to practice the first skill of discernment, which is to listen, and to listen for how God is speaking through the person whose voice you hear. Listening is always and always will be the most important first step of any conversation, because we want to hear your hopes and the possibilities that will then lead us to make concrete decisions about how we better love our neighbors and how we better love ourselves, and of course, how we better love our God. Now, this work of seeking and living into creative energies and outputs is something which I know many of you are aware is not a new idea in this congregation. It is really building upon a long and impressive legacy of creating things together, of creating communities together that intersect with our neighbors, both near and far, both new and old. Energies have already, as it were, been unleashed in lots of important ways. And so what I'm inviting us into is not something new. In fact, it's kind of something old. It's something that already takes place, that goes by the name of farmers market, the robotics groups, the women's gathering, and the BCC. Friends, these are all sites of energy and community and unity making that already exist. And because of their existence within the very and literal spaces that we gather, there are endless amounts of tangible and intangible ways that these groups already inspire us, and they inform us, and they may push us. And they meet here in the places we call home, in the spaces that we are so familiar with. And I am left wondering, with this legacy, these expressions already of community making and energy that exist, what more might God have in store for us? What might it mean for us to step outside of the buildings and the property, to deploy the same kind of energy, community-making, spirit-inspired, unity-building opportunities for those who are our neighbors here, and maybe those who you share as neighbors wherever you come from. So this work is a deepening of what we already do, a broadening of what already happens, an inspiring and responsive potential to what God is up to and where God is up to. So, more to come on that. Stay tuned. I hope you will participate in these conversations as they unfold. Before I hand the mic over to Larry, I do want to take a rather more solemn moment to acknowledge the deep loss we have experienced in our community over this past year. And you may have noticed on the last page of the report, lists of people dear to us, the faithful departed in 2023. And so I want to invite us to take a moment of silence to remember them, to give thanks for them. And I also invite you to say aloud or in the silence of your own hearts, those in your life who have died in 2023. And then I'll conclude with a few moments of I'll conclude in a few moments in prayer. Let us remember the faithful departed. I invite those who would like to share the names of others to do so at this time. Ready? And I pray, Father of all, we pray to you for those we love but see no longer. Grant them your peace. Let light perpetual shine upon them, and in your loving wisdom and almighty power, work in them the good purposes of your perfect will, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you. Larry.
Morning. In preparing for this, somehow I was reminded of being in church camp. In church camp in the morning, we had a little song that we would sing. Announcements, announcements, announcements. What a terrible death to die. What a terrible death to die. What a terrible death to be talked to death. What a terrible death to die. So rather than me reading a litany of the accomplishments, and there are many and wonderful accomplishments, I'm going to ask you to pitch in and help with that. But first, I wanted to just use as a framework for all of this, something that Jen and Matt wrote that's in the annual report. A year filled with grace and gratitude, together continuing to restore a beautiful faith-filled community post-pandemic. Couldn't say it better. So, what have you observed in terms of accomplishments in the past year, signs of hope, and what are you grateful for that's occurred in the past year? Just stand up, and if you want to come to the front and use the mic, or just sing it out and I'll repeat it here. I'm a very patient man. What's been accomplished? What are the signs of hope that you've seen? Okay, Ruth. And Cass, yeah, and then Marty? You were, okay. Go ahead, Ruth.
If you can recall last year, when we were at this annual meeting, the financial report was pretty grim. We had a deficit budget.
Why don't you step up to the microphone or over here?
Okay. If you can recall last year, when we had the annual report, all we talked about, we had a deficit budget. Things looked pretty grim. We were cutting staff, on and on. And I think for me, one of the biggest accomplishments was that nobody said, oh, poor me, poor me. We said, okay, what are we going to do? And we've done an enormous amount in terms of the children's programming, in terms of drawing together and becoming, I think, a much tighter community than we were then. And just in terms of spiritual growth, that to me, I mean, isn't the feeling so much different now than it was a year ago? So I don't know how you put that in a box, but that to me is, we've made an enormous change this last year.
Thank you, Ruth. Cass.
I just was gonna mention how delightful it is to see all the young children in the service and march processing it in the morning, and how grateful I am for those who have volunteered to take on this ministry. It's just marvelous. If we're continuing to grow our children.
Thank you. Perfect. Yes. Did everybody hear that? About how grateful she is for all the young people and how Chris Jackson and Diane Ohan have stepped up as volunteers. And as far as I can tell, we didn't miss a beat. Not a beat. We haven't missed a thing in the children and youth program. In fact, in some ways, and I say this with all respect for what happened before, if you were here for the Epiphany pageant, wow, in some ways, things are even more wonderful. So Chris and Diane, thank you. What else?
I'm very thankful that because of jumping into this work as it was, I got to know a lot of people in the church, and it's been a blessing to me in the mothers and fathers and the youth that I think that's something that's a personal blessing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. Yeah, Wendy.
Where the spirit are experiencing holy mother by itself, and I find out who they are.
Oh, thank you. Did everybody hear that? Beautiful. Thank you, Wendy. Yeah. Nancy? Speak it out.
What Wendy said, did. I have seen so many new faces, and it speaks God. It does.
Thank you, Nancy. Sorry, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they can't hear up there. Oh, and the Zoom too. Okay, so we'll have a microphone runner here. Who else? What else? Over here. Dave, Mr. Carter.
Well, I'm particularly thankful that our staff that all had to take a haircut this last year continued to show incredible dedication. They didn't ebb in their dedication. In fact, I kind of think they stepped it up this last year, and I think that's a blessing to all of us. And then from the farmers market, the fact that we're still, even though we've struggled the last couple of years, we're still giving produce and food every week to fish, and we were able to provide $2,400 to teachers in appreciation this year, among some of the things.
Oh, Dave, thank you so much. How about that farmers market? And since she's here today, I want to acknowledge Melinda, who is our parish administrator. And Linda embodies exactly what Dave was talking about. She hasn't just stepped up, she's gone above and beyond, as has Mary. And if she was here, we would certainly give a round of applause for Marlene. What else? What else are you thankful for? What are signs of hope that you've seen? Yeah.
I'm grateful for our leadership, both paid staff and volunteer leaders who have really given me hope and motivation for stepping up in my own small ways.
Thank you. And I hope everybody knows that Debbie has spent a lot of hours and put her heart into completely revising the website. And now she is keeping it updated and being our webmaster. So Debbie, thank you so much. I didn't hear that. Send your updates. Yeah, send your updates. What else? What else are you grateful for? What have you noticed? Okay, great. Mary.
Well, I'm truly grateful for Father Linden. And I don't know how many of you really get to know this guy. But in the last few months, I think you've started to see his true personality come out. He's funny, he's wise, and I'm just truly grateful you're here. Thank you.
I'm grateful for this year, the Broomfield Robotics Club. As a parent and son participated and husband was a mentor. I think it's an incredible ministry, and I'm particularly grateful for the leadership of Jamie Rumsey and the blessing that she has been on this parish for years and years, and your friendship.
Jamie, back here.
Where I can see everybody. When we brought Father Linden on board in the middle of COVID, we said, this is the most amazing congregation. Like, they can do anything that they set their mind to. They roll up their sleeves, they pour their heart into everything we do. People always step up when there's work to be done. And we kept promising him that this was the case. So I just want to say, I told you so. But thank you to all of you for being you and this amazing community that does beautiful work in Broomfield and the surrounding communities. It's always game to try new things. I just am so grateful to be a part of all of you. So thank you.
Well, I hope I can say this without crying, but I think I can. I am just so grateful for the love and the support that you have all given me, for the clergy support and visits that they made to my husband when he was ill. I was a deacon for 16 years in a church in Florida. I never felt like that there. Well, I never went through quite the same thing, but I never felt the warmth and the true caring that people have had for me here. Thank you.
I just wanted to thank Holy Comforter for allowing me to do the Broomfield Senior Talks here. It's just not the congregation that comes. We get people from all over because I advertise. And so I'm just grateful. I think we're really touching some lives in these talks because these are difficult times with some of these seniors. And so when I have these talks, I think we're getting some problems solved that they have. So if anybody ever has a topic they want me to bring forward, I'm always welcome to that. So I appreciate the church for that.
Thank you so much. Oh, Dottie, I bet you're going to talk about the women's group.
I I started many years ago, the women's gathering, and we started with 4 women in 2009, and we have probably close to 50 women now. And as Ann said, I'm grateful we have a place to come, and we do a lot of work, not necessarily, we don't have a lot of Holy Comforter ladies coming, but we have all these ladies from all around the Broomfield area, many denominations, and they made close to 3,500 sweaters, scarves, you name it, mittens, adult bibs for assisted living. And we send, I would say half of it up to the Pine Ridge Reservation to take care of the seniors there, and as well as their main population. And we also do the tools for growth. So they now have harvested 70,000 pounds of produce. And they started in 2012 when I started helping them with 250 pounds. So they're self-sustaining, and that's a big thing. This is not a handout. These are tools so they can take care of themselves. So I thank you for all your support and giving us a place to come every week.
That's beautiful, Dottie. Thank you. I'm not sure that people really know much about that story, that Dottie and Ellie and some others started working up at Pine Ridge. And I'm from South Dakota. I know that reservation very well. A lot of people over a lot of years have tried to make a difference there. It is a very, very difficult place, very difficult circumstances. This is the first thing that I am aware of that has really empowered that community. They're growing their own vegetables, they're harvesting them, they're selling them. They've given them something that they've never had before. Ownership, precisely, yeah. So Dottie, it's just huge. Thank you. Anybody else? Barb.
I want to ask everyone to please take a look in your booklet and check out the job that Buildings and Grounds has done. There is a group of people, a little army, that show up here all the time. You can come up any day of the week and see someone pulling weeds, trimming bushes, painting lines. I just hope you all, I'm so grateful for these people because these are the people that are keeping our campus beautiful. And there are people here who really shouldn't be out on their hands and knees pulling weeds and, and such. And I would encourage anybody who has any, we'll train you. You just come and we will put you to work, but we are so grateful. And I do hope you notice the changes and the upkeep that happens here all the time.
I would like to thank everyone for their donations to the St. Francis Center. And the Women's Gathering has also contributed blankets and hats and many other items. And it's just been such a blessing to be able to take so many donations down to the homeless people. It's surprising how many homeless people there are in the Denver area, including immigrants who come there. So I just want to thank you. Bob and I go down every Tuesday and we take the donations. Thank you.
Marianne and Bob, thank you. Okay, we don't want to prolong this, so thank you, dear. There are some things that we didn't get around to that I want to make sure people are, sorry? Don't touch what? Yeah, it's a good time to give thanks for the AV team and the people who are here every week. Take care of that. Chuck and number of people. Sorry, don't know all the names. I want to also make special mention of the contributions of Jen and Sue, and I think Mary was intimately involved in it in terms of the fundraising activities in the past year. Our fundraiser raised over $20,000. So when you look at that positive bottom line for next year, $20,000 from the fundraising from Jen, and that wasn't the only thing that they did. There were other things, and they've just done so much to rebuild the spirit of real community and relationship. I think that that fundraiser was a turning point. We've been in the pandemic for so long, we've been separated, we came together, and the relationship, the essence of Holy Comforter came back to life in that fundraiser. So thank you very much, really beautifully done. Kelsey, Pathfinders, amazing. And not just the wonderful thing that they've done in the stewardship campaign, but I particularly want to thank Debbie and Barb for the work that they've done on the Realm database. Our Realm database is all cleaned up. We have a directory that you can trust. I mean, this is amazing. We haven't had this since I've been in the church, to have it as clean and as it is. And also Debbie and Abby Mooney. This just didn't just happen. Debbie and Abby did this as volunteers, all the pictures, the quotes. I mean, you can see it's just not a bunch of information. There is love. There is love put into this. And Debbie and Abby, if she was here, they also do the weekly e-news. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a great e-news? So Debbie, oh, Abby. Hi, Abby. Thank you.
Hi.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Beth Waterman, Nancy. Don't we have a wonderful coffee hour? Absolutely. And what? Beth often doubles as the Zoom host. That was the next thing on my list. That was good. Nancy Gerhardt and Maureen Hedda have started the Welcome Committee, and they've organized the ushers and the greeters and those little welcome cards in front of you. They did all the work on that. And all those new people that Wendy was acknowledging, Nancy and Maureen are making sure that we greet them, we get to know them, and bring them into our community with all the love in our hearts. So Nancy and Maureen, thank you so much. Stand up, stand up. And Cairns for the Bible study. The people in Bible study just love that time on Tuesday morning. It is such a great time together. And Ann just, I'm sorry, I'm prejudiced, but she does a brilliant job. She really does. She puts her heart and soul into that. 5 to 10 hours a week she prepares for the Bible study. And I mean, I love you anyway, but my sweetheart. The people who have helped in the office, Wendy, Jen, Jose, I hope I haven't left anybody else. They've just been enormous. Who? Diane, right, Diane. I mean, Melinda could not begin to do the job that needs to be done in the office and administration without them. So thank you very much. We don't have to keep applauding. We'll do it at the end. Sue Sproul has taken over the lay Eucharistic ministers and has brought on new people and trained them. And we're very thankful for that. Cindy Pickerel. She says she didn't do it, but I know she did. I know she did. I come to the church a lot, during the morning and during the day. Almost invariably, Cindy is here doing something with the grounds. And she's the one who's responsible for the flower arrangements and all those wonderful arrangements in front of the altar for Advent and Christmas and Epiphany. I know you have a team. But you are the heart and soul. And we are so very grateful for everything you do for the church. God bless you. Daughters of the King. This silent little group that we don't hear too much about, but they hold the space of prayer for the whole community. And in many ways, I think of them as the real heart of Holy Comforter. So much thanks to the Daughters of the King. I don't think I left anybody out. Did I leave anybody out? Probably. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And pray with us. It's one of those silent groups that get together and pray. We're very thankful for the ability that we in the church.
Yeah, very grateful for Sandy Grundy and the Centering Prayer Contemplative Group that meets every Tuesday, and that there are not just people here from Holy Comforter, there are people from all over the place. And by the way, just something to keep Sandy in our hearts. She's been going through some difficult physical challenges. She's been in the hospital and rehab. I think she's out now, right? No, she's still in rehab. Yeah, so please keep Sandy in your hearts. Okay, anything else? Oh, sorry. The Altar Guild. Debbie, and who else is on the Altar Guild? Yeah, Sue and Barb and Diane. Yeah, wonderful job. Thank you so much. Every week they're just here getting it done. Yes, John.
There's a ministry we have here at Holy Comfort that was started about 2014, 2015. Very dear to my heart, and that is our columbarium. Many people, and including the Stanishes, the McIntyres, the Meads, there's a lot of folks here that, and others that I haven't mentioned, that we put our heart and soul into this little space out here in back. It was just a little grassy area with a big green ash tree. Taking that thing out was something else, but we had a vision. And we were able to build this beautiful, beautiful columbarium and added this beautiful labyrinth. There's a lot of heart and soul went into this. It was all volunteer. And my wife was the first one that went in there back in 2012. So yeah, it very touches my heart. I think especially everybody who's been a part of this, and especially with Gary and Barb Stanish, they worked real hard managing it and keeping it going. And if you haven't seen it, if you're new here, please, we'd love to show it to you. The labyrinth is open at any time to come to walk the labyrinth, pray, whatever you need to do with it. It's an open, beautiful space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I did forget one thing, that another huge contribution from the Pathfinders, and specifically Marty Collins and Andrea and the Finance Committee have done a wonderful job of cleaning up our finances to the point where they're now trustable. And we hope that we will never encounter a situation like we did last year when we got surprised by the numbers in the budget. So Marty and Andrea and the Finance Committee, wonderful job. Thank you so much. Okay, nope, not the last thing.
I just think we need to acknowledge all of those talented people who take photographs around our campus, and they just, you know, it's a beautiful presentation that we have going on there. And it, you know, when you can't speak to someone, but they can see those pictures, they know about all the love that goes on in our community. Thank you to Tim and Barb and anyone else who takes photographs.
Tim has taken thousands of pictures, thousands and thousands, and it's such a great record for us to have. Okay, last thing. I'm stepping down as the senior warden, and I just want to say what a joy, and I mean the kind of joy that springs from your heart and is God-inspired, is grace. What a joy it has been to work with this vestry. What an incredible group of people. And it's unlike any vestry. I've been in 3 vestries. This was just a remarkable, remarkable group of people. It's hard for me to explain, but my heartfelt gratitude to all of you. And God, I love this man. I love this man so much. Talk about a joy. It has been my total joy over the last year to spend a lot of time with Lyndon, you know, working through the challenges. And every time I meet with him, I walk away feeling better about myself and about the community, every time. So there are many things for which to be thankful. He's a wonderful priest and preacher, as we know. He's a wonderful administrator and manager. really does a wonderful job running, the different operations of the church. But mostly I'm grateful for who he is. He is a man of God. He is a man of heart. And we are so, so, so fortunate to have Father Lyndon Shakespeare as our rector.
And I'm fortunate for the numbers of the budget and Larry, which I'm going to invite Andrea to come up right now. And we're going to distribute, while she comes up, we're going to distribute the letter that Father Kelsey was reading from this morning with some details about the mortgage forgiveness. So this is going to be distributed. Dennis, can you give me a hand?
Short people problems. So as this letter is being passed around, it's pretty much what, as Father Linden said, kind of dealing with the details of our, I guess, our wonderfulness. It's been an actual joy to deal with something like this. But beforehand, just want to kind of reflect on all the different ministries, all the different organizations that have been presented just a while ago. And there's a lot of love, there's a lot of excitement, but then there's also the money. So that's kind of where I kind of think of when I hear of all these different ministries, and also to thank Father Linden on the little meeting that we had of, hey, this is a one-year position as a treasurer, and get all this. And then later in the year, it became 3 years. Then it became 5 years. And then I've heard like lifetime commitment of being treasurer. I did not know that. But as this, kind of finishes around, the one thing I can definitely tell you is it wasn't myself was the only person that actually tried to kind of get a hold of our finances and truly understand exactly what we have, what we know, and what we can bring. It has been a lot of hard work and hours to kind of decipher everything that we have on that. So I definitely thank the many people that have helped me work through not only this year, but also work through the budget, work through pretty much all the accounts to make sure that when I said yes on this, that I made sure without a doubt, I love numbers. And believe me, I am going to figure out all those numbers. We have quite a big, huge jump and shift in understanding. There's always more, if anything, having just 1 year saying everything is grand and wonderful is, I can't say that, but I am here for many more years to come to make sure that everything is solid, that we have a good foundation, and that we continue on for apparently, hopefully not a lifetime, but to have the next person when they come along, that they are absolutely in that right focus and into continuing on. Okay. So I do have a little bit of information as you're seeing this wonderful letter. Father Kelsey and I, and also Marty Collins, have been kind of doing a lot of talking, a lot of information about the donations that the donors really
gave us as far as that gift. I can definitely tell you that this past Friday, went to the Bank of Montreal, that we currently used to be Bank of the West, now it's Bank of Montreal, and went and said, let's pay this off. So I can definitely say that the payoff of our balance to Bank of Montreal, our loan, has been paid. So that then leads us into the next portion of the loan that we will have through our donors of the $230,000. It does change a little bit when it comes to the budget, but through the work with the incoming or new vestry, we can definitely get that figured out and more structuredized and get an understanding with our new loan. So with that piece in mind, if you can go ahead and go into your annual report, page 3. So if you see on page 3, it is the statement of financial position, basically our balance sheet for the end of the year that you can compare from last year of, well, 2022, and then the end of this past year, 2023. Each part is kind of dealing with our funds and amount of money that we do have. We ended up this year for December 31st, $153,000. So that is definitely stuff that deals with the operating account. It deals with our any columbarium, our Broomfield. So it pretty much is a combination of things. Our investments through the Colorado Episcopal Fund, our legacy fund, is generated through there with our building and contents. The liabilities, we had about 638,600 for our mortgage, which is definitely going to be different when we come next year. So that would be actually quite nice, different amount. Our accounts payable, but the one thing I wanted to also make sure in place on there is the prepaid pledges. So there have been several parishioners that have already gave in their money for the incoming year. We want to make sure and have that hold accountable that it is our prepaid pledges that will be distributed throughout the through the year. So for those of you that have already placed in your pledge, awesome. Thank you very much. It is probably sitting right there and will be distributed through that year. The temporary restricted accounts, that includes all the ministries that have funds through the church, also with our funds dealing with the legacy account, the Cheyenne Episcopal Fund on there. And then for page 4 is our operating cash flow analysis and the spending plan summary. This particular piece, we do have as far as, you know, what is going to be happening with the shift of paying off our mortgage and introduced to that new loan that we will be dealing with. We do have a little bit of changes on there. We're expecting or proposing about 490,220 when it comes to our income, and it's been divided down into those specific areas. Personnel expenditures, little bit different because we have to make sure and kind of correlate with what we had for people that we have lost, you know, with the positions and whatnot, kind of shifts differently. And kind of, again, kind of goes a little bit through. So as far as the amounts, kind of the ones that particularly maybe be changing as far as what
the vestry is wanting to take a look at or modify, would be the maintenance reserve, mortgage, and other property expenses. We did establish for this year the maintenance reserve, so that way it takes care of quite a bit of the things that need to be fixed, large ticket items. We kind of budgeted about $18,000 in for that. Our mortgage, well, that kind of changes a little bit. We estimated about the equity portion for the mortgage was about 18,000. That's probably going to shift around 22 because of our new loan that we're going to be working with. Also, a little bit of a shift. We estimated about, I think it was $32,000 for interest on there. Now we can say that goes to zero. So that's very, very nice to kind of take a look at. And again, vestry needs to kind of sit down and take a look at things and see what we can deal with. The other piece is the other expenses and cash flow reserves. We actually added in a cash flow reserve, so that way we can continue building on it. So that way we have that reserves for any situations that that can come about and be prepared for it. We have for this year about $18,000 that we are going to start with and placing into a cash flow reserve. So as far as the operating expenses, we're looking at, as far as what was approved, 482,456. So trying to kind of modify with the mortgage and the interest, kind of saving about, I believe, about 25, 27, 28,000. So it's really nice. And, but it's something that we still want to make sure and continue to, you know, place in those pledges, and every single bit definitely counts. It has been such a blessing. It's been one of those things like, okay, don't have to worry about which banks to go to and find what kind of loan and the interest rates and whatnot. So it is definitely a good amount of change on this, and I'm excited, and I'm sure our finance committee is definitely excited to continue to dive in and make sure that when we get into the continuing years, that we can get the things that we had to cut back, hopefully to bring it back to where it once was, and hopefully more on that. So I think that's just to approve. Yeah, I think it's, oh, any questions?
When the stock exchange
when the stock donation went through, it went through the Episcopal Foundation, it said. So did that mean any percentage of it went to the larger diocese, or did we get it all?
That I'm not sure of. As far as the details of that, I probably would have to refer a little bit to Father Kelsey on.
Sounds a
on that.
little like laundering, you know, but you know.
Well, I was just going to say the Episcopal Church, Colorado Episcopal Foundation, while it serves the Episcopal Church in Colorado, is not formally where funds that would go to, say, diocesan operations would be channeled through, unless there was a specific request.
That's one of the services the diocese provides congregations, is they take appreciated stock and then they liquidate it. The numbers are a little bit off here because between the time they received the actual stock and the time they liquidated it, the stock went up $9,000 in value. And as a result, we shortened the length of time to pay back the zero interest loan from 10.5 years to 9.5 years. So we got the full benefit of that stock.
Thank you, Father Kelsey.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you.
We do, as a body, as the body of Holy Comforter, we do have a vote to receive the financial report and the spending plan for 2024. Vestries approve budgets and congregations are asked to accept them. But this is one of the core aspects of our gathering this morning. So, in light of all that, may I have a motion to accept the, Diane O'Han is not allowed because she does this in vestry all the time. So anyone except Diane who would like to accept the motion. Is there a second? Second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, please show with your raise of hands. All opposed? The budget is received. Thank you, and thank you, yes. We look forward to be able to providing you updates on our financial picture as we're better able to accommodate, of course, the new numbers associated with the forgiveness of the mortgage, but also the new loan. So stay tuned. Really, our final piece of business as a body is the vestry elections. And I want to give thanks for the remarkable leadership of our outgoing vestry members, Jose Torrens, who I hope is still here, maybe. There he is. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't think of another role for him to fill in order to serve on the vestry, which he has served along with Kirk Jones. He has served on the vestry since I've been here. So I feel like in some ways this is a new moment as well. But Jose has been a faithful attendee, participant, wise contributor to the work and life of the vestry, and we thank you. And for Rod McFadden as well, for stepping in last year to serve in a one-year position. We thank you, Rod. We thank you, Rod. I'm particularly grateful for Larry Banks, right? Last year, he said no to me about 6 times in terms of serving as the senior warden. And knowing the year that we were entering into, I didn't hold it against him. I certainly understood. But when I got that email that said, you know what? Yes, I was overjoyed. And it has been a privilege and a delight to have such a person of deep faith, of wisdom, of experience as a real partner in this ministry of leadership over this past year. And I've enjoyed most of our conversations. And so it's been a watershed year. I know I keep saying that, but it's been a real watershed year. And Larry has stepped up in so many remarkable ways in his role as senior warden. So thank you, Larry. And Kirk Jones, the other of the long-standing members of the vestry for whom I think it's time after 6 years or so for a break. Kirk is stepping down as junior warden, and Kirk, thank you so much for your attendance. We weren't sure if the buildings and ground group could ever be wrangled into meeting and coming up with agendas, and with all the wonderful gifts and talents of that group, and Kirk has just quietly gone about helping to be really present to the work of Buildings and Grounds, has been key to the upgrades that have made Zoom and all the things now we take for granted in terms of our technology, and is a deep reader. He's a deep theologian, and I'm so grateful to you, Kirk. Thank you. So we're going to miss you. And now it's this moment when I have to switch kind of emotional attachments from saying goodbye to saying hello. And I am super grateful that Sue Carter has agreed to serve as senior warden. Where is Sue? Sue has been a member of the vestry, and I've so appreciated her prayerfulness and faithfulness, her ability to both speak into the past and history of this congregation, and also to provide a real sense of direction about where we're going. So I look forward to working with Sue this year. We have a slightly unusual situation with the junior warden role, and due to a number of circumstances, we don't actually have a candidate today, but stay tuned. We'll be sending you updates as I'm able to do so. Okay, which I know is unusual, but sometimes happens. I'm also grateful for Andrea Cavanis, who has also agreed. I can't tell you, friends, what it was like last January, sitting down with both vestry and warden candidates, sharing with them what was happening, anticipating what might be happening, and for people to say yes to serve. I think it's a remarkable thing. And Andrea said yes. And I was so grateful for her presence and her determination, her grit. Any of you who have had to navigate realm, particularly on the financial side of things, which I know is a small group, and it's not because they're sinners that we make them do this work. It's because they're saints. And Andrea has been a saint, along with the support of Marty Collins and Father Kelsey, the Pathfinders, and Marlene and others as well, to help work through the financial processes, which are so critical, as you know, to what numbers are generated and how much those numbers can be trusted. And that has really been a core work of Andrea's and the finance committee and members of the Pathfinders this year, to reestablish trust in not just the numbers that are produced when reports are run, but in the processes that create them. And that is really has been an enormous task and has required hundreds of hours. And so, Andrea, thank you for saying yes, and for saying yes again for this lifetime appointment. So let's recognize Andrea and the supportive team of the Finance Committee and Pathfinders with applause. With Marty. Okay, now to our elections this year, which includes 2 categories of positions, 2 3-year terms and 1 1-year term. I hope you had a chance to read the bios of those stepping forward to serve this year. It was sent out this past week. David Janik and Cynthia Dvorak have accepted nominations to serve 3-year terms, and Debbie Hogue has volunteered to serve a 1-year term, in addition to all the other hats she is wearing in our community. So this is going to be an election by acclamation, which means I'm going to expect a loud expression of approval, such as clapping, or let's just stick with clapping. So is there a motion to elect David Janik and Cynthia Dvorak to serve 3-year terms as vestry members? Second? All in favor? Aye. Yes. Woohoo! All opposed? Okay, right, wonderful. An election has happened. Now, is there a motion to elect Debbie Hoag to serve a one-year term as a vestry member? So moved. Second? All in favor? Woohoo! Any opposed? We have an election, friends. Thank you. Thank you for the new members who are going to be joining us on this vestry. Stay tuned. We'll have a formal, what am I trying to think? Installation of our vestry. Sorry, the word was down here, but I couldn't think of it. Installation of our vestry members in the ways to come. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart the staff who, as has already been said, but needs to be repeated and echoed, who have just done a yeoman's job. I mean, have really given heart and soul and gut to this past year, which has been really, really tough and has really put us in a position of both having some difficult conversations, but also in the process, explore new ways for us to do our work and invite others into that work. Bishop Kim is very often says that the churches are lay-led and staff-supported. And that is, I think, very much true of Holy Comforter. And the staff work and love and passion for this community, I hope you know, is evident and true and real. And I'm thankful for each one of them. For our outgoing wardens, for Larry and Kirk, for all the members of the vestry who have really did show up this past year in some incredible and amazing ways. And to echo something Larry said earlier, created an environment to do our work that was prayerful, that was thoughtful, that was passionate. And I'm grateful for all of you. I so appreciate the prayers of anybody. And I'm particularly grateful for the Daughters of the King who I know pray for me and Margaret and who pray for this community and for all of what this community represents. And I think today has really captured, to pick up on something Jamie said, today has really captured who we are. And it is not necessarily something new. It's been here, it has been, you've been this way, but we're seeing it in new and vibrant ways. And I think that's very exciting. And I like to think God has a lot to do with that. So thank you for those who hold us before God in these times. Right, how am I doing? When's kickoff?
Way over, way over.
Chiefs, okay, oh, the Chiefs game, well then. Today, I'd like to recite some of my poetry, long-form Shakespearean sonnets that, That's right. No.
All in celebration of the Baltimore Ravens.
All right. So with whatever was just said, is there a motion to adjourn? What? A second? All in favor? Any opposed? God bless you. Thank you all.